Hello, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on what location you're located at. My name is Tommy Lee, Vice President of North America for Fanvil. I want to thank everybody for your time in going over a very brief, exciting introduction of our new V-Series IP phones. It's been a little while since we introduced these phones, something new in terms of the phone line. I know we've came out with a couple of new door access points, but I want to take this moment to really introduce our new V-Series of IP phones. Many of these are on the boat already, heading towards your channel, and we're going to have several exciting promos and test drive capabilities through our channel, so that you may want to reach out to our distributors to find out exactly what type of programs we have for those that are new, and see how we could do moving forward. People are signing on as we speak. While they're signing on, let me do some house cleaning before I get started. The handouts, I have a soft copy of this presentation in the handout section. So if you go to your clients, you will get a PDF version of all of the different slides I will show today. In terms of questions, please, by all means, place all of your questions in the question box as they come up. And what I will do is at the end of the webinar, I will go forth and try to address as many questions as possible. If not, I'll try to take your contact information and get back to you with the answers to those questions as well. So with that said, let me go ahead and really just bring forth an introduction of our V-Series. Now, the V-Series line is in addition to our X and XU product line. For those who are familiar with Fanvil, this is not to replace anything, but to add additional features. And one of the nice features that we begin to add is not only just a new design, but also an integration of Wi-Fi into most of these phones. And you'll realize that we've taken some of the success of our XU product line and really condensed it down into narrowing what we feel is it makes it a very easy choice for you, but also to our channel partners as well, so that they can actually stock, the right flavor that you're looking for, and you'll know to see how that works moving forward and see what we're going to do. Now, I'm going to go over just a product overview. Again, this is sort of a brief overview, and if you have any deeper questions, feel free to go ahead and talk to me directly after the webinar, or you could just send me an email. My email address is Tommy, TOMMY.LEE @fanvil.com, or you could just send it to sales @fanvil.com, and that way, globally, anybody who is taking care of your particular region or territory will be able to handle your questions, okay? Then I'm going to go over the highlights and really highlight what the differentiators are, and then the comparisons between the models. With that said, let's go ahead and get started. What I have in front of you is really the entire V6 line. And if you look at it all the way to the left on the V67, the V67 really points to our flagship phone on the Android side. So when you look at this, the V67 is really a phone that we populated with Android 9.0. It has touchscreen, and some of the differentiators that we have on this phone, I'm going to get into a little bit more detail. But what we've done is really incorporated a camera into this phone and give you with the ability of doing touchscreen and more, and I'll get into the details of that. The remaining three, the V65, 64, and 62, really outline the three phones that really handle what we call the prime, which is the V65 and V64, coupled with the essentials. You could almost look at this as like a gasoline pump. Some people will take 62 as the regular unleaded, and then 64 and 65 is higher, and then 65 would be premium. And either way, it comes with really the added features. And as I go down the line, you will notice that even the V62, even though we call it essential, it really contains above and beyond what most of the people who need just dial tone and adding on some of the features as well. And I'll get into that moving forward. But this V65 here and the V67 is something that really parallel with each other. So this will also have a tilt screen as well, with a much larger screen, as well as giving you lots of different capabilities of looking at different items in terms of buttons with several different windows as well. 64, which is also considered part of our prime choice, is that it doesn't have a tilt screen, but it does contain all of the essential elements that you're going to need in deploying the phones. We predict that the 64 will probably be the highest runner for us. And then the 62 obviously is really catered for those clients who really just need a basic phone with a lot of the conferencing, but all of the network performance capabilities, so that you just have really one of three choices to make. And that way you can just simplify your choices, and these phones are out there already being qualified on many of the different platforms. Now let's go ahead and get started. As I mentioned here, for the V67, you'll actually note that this phone actually includes a camera loaded onto this, and you'll see it noted right here on the upper part of the display. And part of that is that you don't have to buy an external camera and mount it on, as some of our alternatives solutions might have, and you can actually tilt the screen up and down depending on how you want to go ahead and do that. So this is really a great way to sort of introduce an alternative way of introducing Android. Now, a lot of people ask me, can I go ahead and download Android from an Android store? This operates very different than a smartphone, which is what most people have as far as experience. You'd have to go out and pick out an APK file, either whether it's a Zoom file, Skype, or even Teams file. They all have APK versions, and you can actually surf to the site, download it, and you can actually run applications on this to really provide you not only all the phones and the functions that the Linux phone provides, but also in addition, you can also run other clients that you could have a two-way video conversation as well. Looking at this in more detail, as you're going to outline and go into a lot of these things, you're going to see these red stars. And these red stars is what we consider as differentiators. We've done a comparison with a lot of different other Android phones as well. When you take a look at the V67, and we put a star next to a lot of the things that we consider are unique to the Fanvil solution. In addition to some of the things that are not listed, we also provide a 2-year warranty, in which many others only support a 1-year warranty. One of the things that we start off with is the antibacterial plastics. Not only does it exist with the V67, but it also exists with the V65. We went above and beyond, under the current environment. Since these phones are shared, we thought it might be a nice feature for you to go ahead and incorporate these things. And we couple that with a 6-inch screen that's also touchscreen as well, so that we provide a lot of the different things. And we do also a color lighting pad in the back, so that for those who may operate under a dark environment, it actually provides a lot of enhancements so that you don't miss the keys and everything. But the great news amongst the 67, 65, and 64, we actually incorporate Bluetooth as well as Wi-Fi capabilities. What has driven that? Very often, I think as the pandemic is starting to wean away, as we see in most of the states nowadays, people are still living under a hybrid environment. And so if you do need a remote phone, you can use this or many of the other models to work in a remote environment where a PoE switch isn't always available. So you can plug this in wherever you want to and be able to hook this into whatever Wi-Fi network you can do. Okay. And then coupling that, you'll also note down below is that one of the differences between this and our X models, because our X models was not wall mountable. And what we've done is actually added wall mount capabilities to some of these large phones, if that is something that you can do. So you can buy an adjustable wall mount bracket so that you can go ahead and close and mount these things. And this way you can do whatever you want with them. Some of the other nice things that we have is it also supports all the nice audio and video codecs as well. If you can see, we also support a lot of video door phones, video cameras, as well as interfacing with third-party IP phones. Our display is VGA compatible, so that you can also display all of the video that comes in through not only outdoor phones and intercoms, but also many of the third-party applications, so that you can actually see and press whatever button you can to allow them to get in. Now let's focus a little bit on the Linux product line. This is probably the people who aren't interested in Android, but it does contain many of the same features as well, including with the antibacterial plastics. This also has a tilt screen, but one of the things it lacks is the integrated camera. This is really made for one-way video watching so that you can go ahead and actually view whatever videos are out there, either from a third-party IP camera or even the IP cameras that are hosted on our intercoms as well as our door access units moving forward. It too supports integrated Bluetooth 4.2 as well as Wi-Fi 2.4 to 5 gigahertz. But some of the new things that we wanted to outline on these stars is that it also supports 6-party audio conferencing. What does that really mean? Because very often we hold our conference calls that are planned. You know, you may hold a conference phone, everybody meets at a certain time, but there's a big population out there that people want to go ahead and accumulate conference calls on the fly. So if I call, you know, person A, that person A I can go ahead and bring in person B, person C, and really accumulate up to 6 people that can be hosted on this phone itself just by pressing hold and bringing another call in so that this one phone can support up to 6 parties. That's how much additional horsepower that this phone has so that it can support these type of capabilities. Obviously, in terms of SIP lines, we could support up to 20 lines. And as well with the screen, we also be able to provide lots of different features on it and be able to provide tilt capabilities as well. Of course, this is also wall mountable so that these are the type of things that we have moving forward. The V64, we think, is probably going to be our big runner. Like the 65 and 67, it contains a lot of the core features that we consider that was once considered premium, such as gigabit Ethernet. These things also support PoE, wall mountable, desk phones with actually 12 SIP lines you could support, and it also includes Wi-Fi as well as Bluetooth on the actual device itself, and it also provides 6-party conferencing all on one unit. And when you think about it, if you don't really need some of those features, this is really a core piece that you may want to take a look at to really provide that color screen experience, giving you all of the features that you will want on a color phone moving forward. And what we call the essential line is really what we consider even the things where we provide you with a monochrome screen that really gives the end user all of the information that they need, but while providing you with all the core network capabilities, give you that gigabit interface because you don't want to necessarily slow down your PC going through this, as well as being able to provide PoE support. But we also provide a USB port that gives you Wi-Fi capability through a Wi-Fi dongle if you want to go down that route. So you could either choose either a Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, but that goes via dongle. But in terms of having all of the conferencing units and all of the different codecs that give you that capability of supporting Opus in low environments or high bandwidth environments, we do what we can to preserve the fidelity of the audio coming in and out of this phone. And those are really what I consider the 4 key phones moving forward, okay? And when we put a star here, that indicates it's a differentiator, and that's something that our phones support that many of the alternatives do not necessarily have as well. That provides a good overview. Now let's focus on some of the highlights of this. And for those who didn't win, you're going to have one more shot in being able to win this as well, because I'm going to also run this at the last part of the webinar over the last slide, and that's just a couple of minutes away. Some of the highlights I want to put out here and just the V67 is a big thing is zero touch deployment. This is great. You know, I got a lot of feedback advising that these phones look really great in terms of design wise, but zero touch deployment, because we realize that what's really key is making sure these phones deploy the way you want them to deploy and you're using minimal amount of time as you go on site and doing this. So we actually have 2 installation methods. So not only can you use a lot of the PBX provisioning tools, but we also have Fanvil device management system, which is managed in the cloud, that you can upload and download all these configuration files, run remote diagnostics if you want to, like being able to reset the phone and be able to gauge if the phone is actually online or offline. You might be able to catch that before your account even does that as well. It have obviously built-in Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and also coupled with the latest Android 9.0. I get this question very often when, are these phones upgradable like a PC or other devices? And the unfortunate thing is no. Once you come in with Android 9.0, it's something that you're basically stuck with for the life of the phone. But the good news is that a lot of the baseline of many of the Android applications out there like to run Android 8.0 moving forward. So you're covered for quite some time moving forward. As I mentioned earlier, available with the V67 and 65, we put some antibacterial surface protection. I think in the future, if this is really something that's catchy and we like it, we may do it on all of our phones. But currently, we did it on our top line to really provide that added level of protection if that's something you want. We realize that some of these phones are shared amongst many different tables or shared amongst different individuals. And we thought it might be a great idea just to go ahead and share some of that protection to cover for those people that are a little more concerned about bacteria. Adjustable touchscreen. I think one of the movements that have gone through these days is some people like to stand behind their desk, some people like to sit down. The good news is that you can adjust the camera or whatever angle that really suits whatever environment that you need so that you can really adjust these screens to really fit the way you like to work. These are the small little features that kind of make a difference depending on what your work environment is moving forward. Of course, there's some cool lighting. And notice when you back up, you may see, gosh, there's a lot of different lightings. This happens when you're doing power up, but it also provides great lighting so that when you press these buttons, the illumination of the numbers and everything really do provide a great highlight so that, it helps you really increase and provides it under low lighting situations. But just like people do with keyboards on a PC, we provide this to give you that extra illumination. This is something that's readily available on the V67 phone moving forward. Another differentiator that we have. Now, when you look at, mixed audio conferencing, some people like to go ahead and put on third-party applications. And the great news is that you can actually provide multiple audio as well as providing multiple video calls, and you can actually see their screen as you would probably on your PC on this phone itself, which really adds that extra layer of protection or versatility that this phone might give you. Obviously, it's not as flexible as a PC, but if you could find a specific APK out there, we run into situations in a hospitality environment where lots of people put together a proprietary Android interface that instead of looking at our phones, you might actually take a look at a specific interface that tells you what the local restaurants are, the local weather, a forecast, as well as room service. And these are all the things that you can adjust these phones to do to really make it operate in many different environments. If you don't need all that, then quite frankly, a Linux phone of the 65, 4, and 2 would be able to manage your needs far better as well at a lower cost. Obviously, when it comes to doing codecs, this supports the whole slew of codecs ranging anywhere from the G722 and Opus. For those who aren't familiar with Opus, Opus is great if you want to deploy these phones in a low bandwidth environment. And under a low bandwidth environment, this codec will actually condense the bandwidth capability to preserve the fidelity of the audio so that you don't get the skipping calls that you would get under a G722, which requires much higher frequency. And if you don't have that level of bandwidth, the Opus will adjust your voice quality so that it comes through without skipping as much as possible. And as well, the V67 comes with a 5 megapixel camera on board so that this is the one phone that you can have dual conferencing in case you want to run some of these external video conference calls on the phone itself. It's a standalone unit and it's something that could really provide two-way calling. If you don't need two-way calling and you still need all the features, then the V65 is where you want to go. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, Android 9.0 operating system will more than cover you. For this Android phone, this gives you a really good capabilities to be future-proof for many years to come. One of the big features that I used in this phone is really the built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. As noted on the lower right-hand corner, it's available on both the V67, 65, and 64. Everything but the essential line, which is the 62, all of these things will be incorporated on the phone itself, which really provides a much easier rollout solution rather than having to put in a dongle. If you have a spotty moment where you're not sure, then even our core essential unit has the dongle capability, so that if you needed to do that, you could put in a Wi-Fi or a Bluetooth dongle to be able to support your specific wireless needs as well. Obviously, the link with security products. For those who are familiar with Fanvil, we also provide door access security systems, PA adapters here on the lower left-hand corner, and above it, we also have intercoms as well. So whether all of these units, we can work together with video, without video. They also serve as a specific terminal to be able to control all of our external endpoints as well. All of these units are really SIP-based, so that there's going to be no question whether or not you want to have more than just a phone deployment. This could also serve as a direct video as well as an audio interface, depending on what project needs you might have moving forward. And another key feature, I just want to show you the dashboard of our zero-touch deployment. This is what the dashboard looks like in our Fanvil device management system up in the cloud. You can actually see, based on whatever building or campus that you can go ahead and control, and actually see what level of phones, whether it's the V series, the XU series, the X, or even our door phones, you can tell whether or not they're up and running, and actually run some basic diagnostics on these things and be able to do remote firmware upgrades from one single location. You may want to do it with our device management system, or you can do it with the PBX management system. One note that I want to mention out there is that I don't suggest having two provisioning systems working side by side, because then you're going to end up having conflicts and you're not going to know which one is actually in control of the phone. But you can use this if you decide to use a PBX provisioning tool as a passive monitoring tool, so you can actually gauge whether or not the phone is online, offline, and be able to run some minor diagnostics on the side. Okay? If you want more information on that, feel free to go ahead and send your questions to support@fanvil.com. When you want to talk about differentiation, Fanvil also has a local manufacturer support person that actually resides in the East Coast, so that you also have local manufacturing support in addition to me as well, providing whatever local channel or high-level technical needs that you might have as well. I talked about the different mounting capabilities. Not only is this desk mount or wall mountable, but you could also provide a lot of different ways to really suit depending on how you want to do the job moving forward. So this is a really various phone that we have. We've gotten great compliments on the initial design on this, and you can mount this and use it whichever way you want to do it. And then the last but not least, the comparisons. When you want to look at all the different phones side by side, what we've done is we've put a star next to where we think we exceed in terms of looking at the equivalent phone. So the 67, we put stars next to things like having a lit keypad, the tilt screen, antibacterial surface. The V65, we actually exceed in a lot of these different things that are highlighted by these stars, which will kind of give you some ways that we could differentiate. Things that are outside of these feature functions, we also provide twice the warranty from one of our competition as well. So these are things that you may want to look at when deciding on a phone. Ah, yes. Okay, there is a connection on the Bluetooth. The Bluetooth is actually 4.2, not 5.0. My apologies for that. I think one of the bullet points, I have an older one. I got an update, so a correction to the thing. This actual presentation does have Bluetooth. It's actually 4.2, not 5.0. Thank you, Cash, for being able to look at that. Can cell phone calls be seamlessly handed off to the V67 or versa? Yeah, actually, if you have a cell phone call, most of these phones, if you connect it to a PBX, they just have a DID number on it. So just like you can actually, call up, Domino's Pizza, you can call up anybody with this phone, so they are accessible through the cell phone. let me see, are you coming out with a version with a smaller footprint, like a lunchroom phone? Actually, we do have smaller footprint phones. What I'm showing you here is actually the V series. We actually have a slimline phone that we actually call the H series. If you're looking for a slimline phone, I would ask you to take a look at the H2U. That's actually looks like your classic 1970 slimline phone. That it's actually a 2-SIP line phone that we actually have both in black and white, and that's really the smallest real estate phone that we have that will really give you what we call basic dial tone features. If you need something more than that, we also look at the XU line. You can look at the X3U, which provides a much narrower phone as well. So you can look at some things outside of the V series. Okay, does the outside update automatically? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Does the outside update automatically? Wireless version. Yeah, I guess from a wireless version, they do support wireless in terms of having Bluetooth as well as Wi-Fi capability. So if you can go ahead and hook up the V64, 65, and 67, all of them could be connected through your Wi-Fi network. Is the audio conferencing amplified, adjustable amplification? Well, the phone itself actually has volume adjustments. So what you can do is that when you call from an A to B and you want to add the person on, you could put the person on hold, call the other person and bring him in. And then from there on, you could actually amplify. Each individual person can amplify their own phone to make it louder or softer, but I don't believe you can actually individually amplify each individual call should they come in different volumes. You know, that's kind of my sort of reflex reaction coming back. I may have missed it. Did I skip this? Let me see. How do you gain access to FMD? Oh, if you want to gain access to the Fanvil device management system, all you have to do is send a request. Just send it to support@fanvil.com or send it to sales@fanvil.com. And what you can do is, I'm interested in evaluating FDMCS. And what we can do is we could send you a link. Occupy. Once we send you the link, by the way, the link is only active for 3 days. I would suggest you go ahead, establish your account. Then you could do a deeper dive in this thing and then be able to go ahead and access, you know, our device management system moving forward. Beyond that, let's see. Do you have the contact information for the East Coast support? Yes, in fact, I do. The East Coast support person I have, his name is Hector, and you could reach him at hector.zarita@fanvil.com. It could be spelled HECTOR .Zarita, ZURITA at fanvil.com, hector.zarita@fanvil.com. And he's sort of, he is our local manufacturer technical person, and you'll be able to get great support from him. He's been doing great for all of us, quite frankly, and be able to provide manufacturer level support, you know, on-prem if you go ahead and need it. The rest, I think, let's see. Vertigo, yes, may just, okay. I think, will the X series discontinue? No, in fact, I think I mentioned earlier in my presentation that this V series is going to be in addition to the X as well as the XU. So all of these things really add on top of each other. One of the pieces that was missing on the X and XU was integrated Wi-Fi, and that was one feature that we've gone ahead and included in this. So the V series is in addition to the X and XU product line, and it won't be replacing it. Those things will still stay, but this is in addition to. Those are all the different questions that I have. I want to thank everybody for your time as well and setting aside a part of your valuable day with me today. So again, stay healthy out there, and hopefully our paths will cross soon. For those who are interested, I am going to be displaying our V series on the local channel partner show that's going to happen in Vegas next week. If you happen to be there, swing by booth 1655. I'd be more than happy to do a deep dive with you there. So with that said, hope to cross, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to send it at sales@fanvil.com. and it will likely be forwarded to me. You can reach me at tommy.lee, TOMMY.LEE at fanvil.com, and I'll be more than happy to address any questions you have. Okay? Enjoy out there and hope to cross paths soon. Take care and thank you very much. Bye-bye.